Hello, everyone. Let me talk about project 2. You can see the data I'm working on is only up to 91, so yours is going to be 100. So basically, I delete some of the observations. So your result is going to be a little bit different from mine. So for this purpose, I just wanted to show you what exactly Excel function you need and how to create the graph. Okay, now we look at the project. So the first question is asked for a frequency distribution and a histogram with 5 bins for each of the 4 variables, along with a discussion of what each summary tells us about the movie that are related to the theater. Okay, so we wanted to make a frequency distribution and a histogram with 5 bins. Okay, that we can choose one of them. It's like, say, we do operational opening gross sales. Yes, we want to know opening gross sales. Okay, this is the column B actually. Okay, before we do that, so we wanted to know to the maximum and the minimum. Okay, so what is the maximum number? Okay, so we're gonna do that. Okay, this is a 5 maximum. And we wanted to know the minimum. Okay. Okay, the minimum is, okay, so you can see the minimum is pretty small, okay, close to 1. Okay, you look at that, it's going to be somewhere between 0, so we keep between 0 to 180, right? So that's, we wanted to divide that 180 by 5 bins. So each one is going to be, okay, it's going to be 36, right? Each one is going to be 36. So we're gonna create a bin. So let's see, the first one is between 0 to 40. And then we have 41 to another 80. And we have 81 to 120, 121, 121 to 160. And we can have 161 to 200, right? Okay, so each incremental is going to be 40. So we can see that's around like a 5 bins, and that is actually covered 0.12 and 179, right? So that's the bin we got. Okay, so we can insert, shift that cell down a little bit. So we wanted to see the first column, keeps that empty. So now we're gonna use the function is called frequency. Okay, remember we have that frequency function. Okay, open parentheses. And then we have the, okay, so we have the data. Okay, the first you look at the hint is the data area. We got all the data. Okay. Yeah. And the second, and we put a comma, and the second column is the bin, right? So we can choose the bin, use this one. Okay, so we can have that. Okay, now you click on enter. So you can see the first one is 0 because we we actually don't need that one, so we're gonna move that to frequency to this here, so we can see that 0 goes to the first one because, okay, now we have this. This is the frequency. Okay, remember that. So basically we delete the cell and we move this one cell to the top. Okay, so you can see the frequency distribution for each bin. Okay, the first category is 71 and the last group is 2. So we're gonna select all this data here and we insert a bar chart, or this is going to be a column chart or either a bar chart. Okay, so we can see here. So you go to the distribution here. So you can use in either this one, column chart or bar chart. Okay, so we can insert a, let's see, we got a column chart. Okay, that is the frequency distribution or history distribution, or you wanted to see that's how it looks like. Okay, so this is the bar chart or a histogram. Okay, this bar, and you can format the add a label or change the series tab. Okay, you can make some changes for the H bar and what kind of color and how it looks like. So you can just right click on the bar and you make some changes. Okay, similarly, you can do for the total gross sales and the number of cylinder and the number of the weeks. So we wanted to know the data is basically, we wanted to see the shape is not this one. Okay, you can see this shape is that the first category, the first group has a lot, right? A lot of, and then eventually they reduced. So some of the columns, they do not have a lot of numbers. So we can add a label. So you have data label, we can see the fifth group has only 2, right? So majority of them are in the first group. So this is not a normal distribution. We wanted to see our data. So what is normal distribution? So you want to see the normal distribution curve. Okay, normal distribution curve is like this one. So you want to see the image I wanted to show everyone. Okay, if you see the majority of this data, okay, within the middle, right, or lines in the middle, we call this one is a normal distribution. Okay, but our data for this is not normal distribution. Your normal distribution is supposed to be group 2, 3. 3 is supposed to have the most number, and then you have group 2 and 4, and on each side, the first and fifth group has very little numbers, okay, very few numbers. So that's a normal distribution, but our chart is not that case. So you can discuss based on the shape of the data, how you discuss that, okay, this is not a normal distribution. Okay, so you can talk about that. And also question 2, we talk about a scatter diagram with a trend line to expose the relationship between total sales and operating weekend gross sales. Okay, so total sales and operating weekend gross sales. Okay, now we can see the data here. So we're gonna move this chart somewhere. Okay. Okay, so you can see there's two categories of data. That's what you wanted. Okay, total gross sales and operating gross sales. Remember the one to the left? The one to the left is going to go to your x-axis, and the one to your right, to the right, is going to go to the y-axis. Okay, now we insert. Okay, when you click on insert, you can see this chart is called a scatter chart. So we select both column and we insert a scatter chart. Okay. Okay, the scatter chart looks like this one, right? So this is the scatter chart. So the scatter chart, you look at that, there is an upward trend, right? The upward trend, because the trend is, some of the dot right here, and then some of the dot is pretty close to our line. We can estimate a trend line. So how you add a trend line? So that here with trend line. Do you know how to add a trend line? Okay, you click on this the green button right here on the right, this chart. Click on that, and you can see it pop out this dialog box, and there is one is called a trend line. So you click on that. Okay, it's going to give you a trend line. So you can see the trend line is a straight line, and they have a positive relation between the total gross sales and the opening and gross sales. Okay, so we can discuss that is the two, the opening gross sales has a positive relationship with the total gross sales, as shown in this trend line. Okay, so we're gonna move this chart somewhere here. Now we're gonna do the last. Okay, the last that we're gonna have a pivot table to show the sum of total gross sales by number of filters in a column, okay, number of filters in a column, and weeks in release in a row, right? So the number of filters will be 4 groups, and each group range is 1,000. And a week in release will be 4 groups, and each group range from 10. And how that looks like. So remember, I did this in a class. So now we're going to create a pivot table. Okay, how are we going to create a pivot table? How are we going to create a pivot table? Okay, so we're going to go to the insert. Okay, so now we have this one. Go back, click on somewhere else. You can see, okay, insert with pivot table. And so we from table range, okay, so we choose the table range. So we choose the data here. Okay, the range is going to be this 4 column. And we create pivot table. So we're gonna do like an existing and worksheet. So we're gonna existing worksheet and somewhere, if we wanted to do somewhere here. So let's see. Yeah. Okay, here you go. So we have the existing worksheet, and we choose somewhere we can see on the same spreadsheet. We click on OK. Okay, so now you can see your pivot table is going to be somewhere here. When you click on that, it will see pop up this dialog box, right? Okay, the dialog box is going to show you the number of filters in a column. Okay, so we're gonna see the number of filters in a column. Okay, the number of filter in the column. So we're gonna see that in the column. And so we're gonna delete this one because we're gonna later you can see we have the number of filters in the column. And question 2 is the the number of filters in a column, the weeks in release in a row. Okay, weeks in release. We have week in list in a row. So we're gonna drag this one here. Okay, in a row. And then the total value is going to be, remember the value is, okay, so the sum of total gross sales. Okay, we're gonna sum of the total gross sales. We're using total gross sales, and it goes to the value. It's going to be the sum. Okay, you can see the click on this right little button here. It's going to show you that's the sum of gross total sales. Okay, now we can see we already choose the column, the row, and the value. So what are we gonna do next is we need to make them into groups, okay? So the groups for the weeks in release will be 4 groups, okay? Week in release will be 4 groups for the label and the sum of total. And then we have, okay, so we have the label and we have that we right click. Okay, we click on the column label and then we right click and then you can see there is one is choose group. Okay, the group is going to be starting from 1213 and 4381 by 1000. So in that question, remember we're talking about is going to be each group range is 1000. You just make sure that is 1000 here and click on OK. So it's going to be several groups. Okay. And now we can see this is a group right here. How can we do the row label? Row label, you can see right click, there is no group, right? So they cannot do that. Okay, so we're gonna switch this one to the row to the column to the row and the weeks to the list to the column. We switch that. And now you can see your column is becoming the weeks in release. So we're gonna do that, right click again. And you will see the group, right? Now you have a group. Then the minimum is 7, the maximum is 46, the range by 10. So we click on OK. So now you can see it's already become 4 different groups, right? The range is 10. So now, okay, so we're gonna see that, okay, by range by 4 different groups and range by 10, okay. So now we switch back so we can see because this is the weeks in release in a row and that the column is going to be that. So now you can see this already classified into 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. And the other is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 and different groups. So we have all the data and now you can see this is your pivot table, right? Okay. That's all for today and feel free to let me know if you have any questions.